Hey, welcome to the Men's Room. I'm your host, Mark Sparks. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with women's tests and how to diffuse some of their tests, how to understand some of their tests, and really how to understand them through that process. With me today, I have none other than relationship expert, Frank B. Kermit. Frank, welcome to the show.
Mark, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I got to say, I love the hat. I'm a hat man myself, so I definitely love the hat. Why don't you give me a little bit about yourself? Relationship expert.
Okay, my history. I was stood up at the prom.
Yes.
I dated a woman for 3 years who I considered my fiance. I thought for sure I was going to marry her, and I lost her to my best friend.
Jeez.
I then spent about 2 years with the same woman, always hanging out with her, and she insisted that she could never date me because we were not of the same race and culture. And 2 years into that relationship, where I thought it was a relationship, I hoped she would change her mind. She announces to me that she's got a boyfriend and she's getting married. What really hurt is when I found out that the man she was marrying was not the same race and culture as her. That's when I freaked out. I said, "But you told me that's exactly why we couldn't be together."
Right.
And she says, "I didn't intend for it to happen. It just happened. He seduced me." This happened during a period where I was going without sex for a total of 5 years. So that's when I decided I'm either going to change this part of my life or I'm going to kill myself. And that was it. That was the choice I had to make. I'm either going to die or I'm finally going to get a handle on how to have successful relationships. And I chose to live. I went from 5 years of no sex to having 5 lovers and girlfriends at the same time. Losing my ex-fiance, getting her back 7 years later. Really struggling to get a girl to even go out with me. Having a Valentine's Day poly date, which is I had 2 girlfriends at the same time, and I brought them both together for the same date.
Wow. So you went from like dreaming to living the dream.
Yeah, I went from loser to seducer, title of my autobiography.
I find it real cool that you're so honest about, what's going on. Like a lot of times, people say, yeah, I went from, zero to hero. I went from loser to seducer. But you give a real in-depth story as to what happened.
Well, there's 2 reasons I do that.
Okay.
The first reason is that it's very empowering. The fact is that if I didn't share that story and somebody else went ahead into the media and then decided that they were going to share the truth, I would be discredited. Even though I've done nothing wrong, I'd rather say, you know what, this is how bad I was.
Right.
The second reason is a guy who's never really struggled with women will have a hard time relating to his students and clients.
Absolutely. I would want to look at your book here real quick. Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to satisfying the emotional needs of women. What are these tests?
All right, the definition of a test is when a woman will say or do something specifically to evoke a reaction in a man. Once she gets that reaction, she makes a judgment on what kind of a man he is. Some tests are conscious tests. This is where she decides, you know what, I kind of like this guy, but I'm not too sure about him. I want to learn more. Most tests, however, are unconscious. A subconscious test is when a woman is testing you, not because she's trying to figure out who you are, but because it's her mothering instinct that is taking over. A woman's instinct to mother is stronger than her instinct to have sex. What they're testing for is that mothering instinct is kicking in. What she wants to know is, do I have to mother you or do I get to be your lover? That's it. Do I have to mother you? Do I have to do something for you that you should be able to do on your own? Or do I get to be your lover?
Now, the other part about you that really caught me was the fact that most of the people in the community are about getting the woman. But like your title says, you're about keeping the women or the women. What put you in that category? Because, coming from where you were coming from, it would be totally understandable to be like, I just want to, jump in and out of as many things as I can and call it a day. But you kind of went to the next level.
Having relationships to me was more important than one-night stands. It's not that I'm against one-night stands. I think they're great. They can be a lot of fun. And as long as you're playing safe, they can add value to your life.
So I hear.
During the time that I was learning about seduction and relationships, my father was very ill. And I remember when I watched him die in the hospital. And the one thing that was going through my mind is that here I am, my brother's standing next to me, my father's lying on the bed, across from me is my mom and my sister. And I just remember thinking that my father did not die alone, and he had a very full life. I knew that down the road, I wanted to get married. So from the very beginning, I wanted relationships.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm also, maybe I'm a bit lazy in that regard, because I figure if I'm going to put that much work into meeting a woman and bringing her in my life, why would I have to put that much work each and every time to get a new woman in my life when I can recruit a smaller number of women, but have them keep coming back?
A lot of people would agree that it's just as much work to keep them.
I got to tell you, in my system, the very techniques that I use to get women are the techniques I use to keep women. It's the same behavior patterns. What I've done in my system is that I have categorized all of women's emotional needs into 10 top categories.
Ooh, let me get comfy for this.
Okay, first emotional need of women is protection of her reputation. Now, the most important asset that any woman has is her reputation. If you violate her reputation, for example, you go around telling everybody you know who you slept with, that means that a woman has to consider, if I have sex with this guy, everybody's going to know. Now, how does a woman test a man when she wants to see if you're the type of man who's going to protect her reputation? She'll ask you questions about your other lovers. Something that happened to me in exactly this instance. I had gone to a house party, met up with a girl who I used to date in college. We reconnected again. While at that party, I met another woman. We got friendly, but nothing happened with us.
Sure.
About a week later, I'm in a club. I meet girl number 2. And girl number 2's first question to me is, so did you go home with that girl? Now, how does the average guy think? The average guy thinks, wow, I should tell her, yeah, I went home with that girl, we had a great time, because he's trying to pump himself up.
Right.
A seducer knows better. And what I said to the second woman was, look, I don't know how you were raised, but from where I come from, these are not things for public discussion. When I said that, she immediately got shocked. I know, me too. I think the same way. Yeah, that's why she asked me the question.
Yeah.
But all she was doing, she was testing me to see if I would be willing to talk. The best answer you can give is, I'm not going to answer that. It's none of your business. Gentlemen, don't talk. When you start behaving in that manner on a consistent basis, your girlfriend's best friends will start hitting on you, because they know that you'll never talk about it.
The silence is golden.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Emotionally, number 2, she needs to experience an emotional range. The biggest mistake that most guys make is they try to make a woman happy. Making a woman happy is good, but it's only one emotion.
Right.
She wants a range of emotion. She wants to feel. And the more different emotions that you can make her feel, the more of an emotional range she has, it allows her to feel emotionally satisfied. That's why she feels alive.
Right.
Emotionally, number 3, cater to the little girl in her. So much pressure is put on women that they have to grow up so fast that inside every single woman is a little girl who still wants her knight in shining armor to come in and sweep her away from the dragon's den. Just have fun with her. This is where, you'll take her out for an ice cream cone just for the sake of it. These are just little fun things, but it caters to the child within.
Right.
Sometimes she just needs to be held and told it's going to be okay. Emotionally, number 4, women want a man who's dominant. Let's not confuse dominance with being a bully. She wants a man to lead the relationship. She wants a man to take full responsibility for the sex. She doesn't want to be the one to constantly say, can you get a condom? You're a man, you're in charge of the birth control, you're in charge of where you're going to have sex, when you're going to have sex. Relieve her of that responsibility. She needs to enjoy her time with you. She doesn't need to mother you during sex. The 3 sexiest words that a man could ever tell a woman: stop mothering me. 3 sexiest words. When I was managing 5 lovers at the same time, I would never let any of them do anything to me that would be remotely mothering.
Right.
When they came over to my place and I would cook them dinner, and she says, oh, here, I'll set the table. No, you're not setting the table. Sit down. You're not here to be a mother. You're here to have fun. After dinner, she tries to pick up her plates, put it in the sink. No, what are you doing? You're not here for that. Go into the living room. Go pour a drink and light some candles. Stop mothering me. Now, initially, these women will say things like, oh, I can't believe it. You're such a jerk. You're always getting mad. And in the short term, that's good, because they get emotional range.
Yeah.
Emotionally, number 2.
Yes.
But long term, because I'm preventing the mothering instinct from kicking in, they can't help but feel like a lover. Emotional need number 5 for women, fear of abandonment. The idea is that she can do everything right and you would still leave her. As long as you define what the parameters are, what you're looking to accept as proper behavior,
Right.
and what your deal breakers are. As long as she knows what the parameters are, she'll always feel that she has some measure of control to keep you around.
Right.
And you would be amazed that when you can properly address fear of abandonment, all those things that a man would want to experience with a woman, that a woman says, no way, we could never do that, all of a sudden become a possibility.
Right.
Because she knows that the relationship with you is not threatened by any of those outside factors. Emotional need number 6, can she trust you? Now, trust is not just about being honest. Trust is about, can you be honest enough to the point where you're going to tell her something you know will upset her? This is why sometimes women will choose to be with a guy who constantly makes her angry. It's because he's being honest with her. He's not worried about hurting her feelings. He'll be so honest with her, and that's so rare for women because they're constantly approached by guys who are lying to her just to get into her pants. She's constantly having tons of male friends around her who are like yes men. That will say, absolutely, I agree with 100% of everything you say, and she knows it's not true. And why are these nice guys saying that? Because they want something from her. But the guy who's going to be so honest with her, to the point of pissing her off, is the guy who doesn't want anything from her. All of a sudden, there's no trickery, there's no ill pressure on her.
Right, yeah.
Emotional need number 7, physical protection. Now, let's say you're a guy, you're short, or you're not a fighter, you're a pacifist. How can you possibly address that? It's not about the punch you can throw. It's about whether or not you're willing to take the hit. If you can prove that you're the type of man who's willing to take the hit, you've proven to her that she is safe with you. And sometimes the hit doesn't necessarily mean a physical attack from someone else. Sometimes the hit could be, are you willing to take an initial rejection? No, I'm not ready to have sex right now. Can we wait until next week? Now, how do most guys act? Oh, come on, why do you have to wait?
The tears of flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a guy says, hey, you know what? When it happens, that's totally fine. The guy who says, hey, whenever it happens, that's great, no pressure, he's the one who's likely to have sex much sooner.
Yeah.
She just needs to know that she's safe with you.
Right, right.
A lot of the community guys who struggle with getting a girl, basically they creep her out because they don't feel safe with him. And the fact is, it's because he himself doesn't trust himself enough to know that he should be projecting an image that people can be safe with him. Emotional need number 8, and oh boy, do most guys screw up on this one. Emotional need number 8, can you handle her sexuality? That does not mean you have to be a sexual dynamo in bed.
Okay.
It means that whatever her sexuality is, can you handle it? Can you handle that maybe she's a virgin? Can she trust you to go at her pace? Can you handle the fact that she's been with more men than you have been with more women? A lot of guys have a problem with this. This is why women lie. Can you handle the fact that she had threesomes with her last boyfriend? Can you handle the fact she might be bi-curious? Can you handle the fact that at the age of 22 she went to an orgy and got really crazy? Okay. Can you handle the fact that maybe because of a bad experience in her life, that sex with her is not going to be the super exciting event that it's supposed to be according to all the movies? Can you handle her sexuality? And for this one, she'll test you by telling you things about her friends. And she'll even act like, well, I can't stand the fact that my friend Janet went and did this. Well, if you turn around and say, well, you're absolutely right, your friend Janet is a slut, she knows that she cannot be open with you. If, however, you turn around and say, you know, I can't believe that you're turning on your friend Janet like that. I kind of see your friend Janet as maybe a liberated woman. She'll turn around and think, oh my God, if he sees Janet as a liberated woman, all those things that I want to do, I can do with him.
Wow, passed the test.
Exactly. Emotional need number 9, high quality sperm. What's the best way to prove you have high quality sperm? You have to demonstrate that other women are interested in you. Now, high quality sperm takes in everything from a guy having his inner game together to a guy being physically good looking to a guy maybe having money, having wealth. Why are all those things lumped in together? Because it is a general assumption that if one woman finds a guy attractive for all these reasons, other women are going to find this guy attractive for all these reasons. So let's say you asked out a girl and she says no. What's the one way to prove that she should be thinking about changing her mind? You say, okay, I understand, not a problem, take care. And then you have to let her see you dating other women. Because once she realizes that other women are into you, that's when she gets the sign and says, ooh, if other women are into him, maybe I should be into him.
Right.
This actually works when you're dating multiple women at the same time, because every girl who's dating you is thinking that I should date him because these other girls are dating him. And then the other girls are thinking, well, I should be dating him because these girls are dating him.
Just cycle.
Exactly. That's why the guys who get a lot of women continue to get a lot of women.
And when it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the final emotional need, emotionally number 10, and when guys hear this, they all laugh because they think, oh, this is so preposterous, it could never happen to me. And then once they hear the explanation, they realize how many times they've triggered this. Emotional need number 10, prove you're not a closet homosexual.
Stop laughing.
I'm serious about this, okay? Sometimes some of the behaviors that guys will enact might make people think that they're gay. Here's a good example. When a guy has ridiculously high standards for the type of women that he's going to date. I can only date a hottie, I gotta date a 10. But these guys aren't getting laid at all. When your standards are beyond your skill level, women don't look at that and say, wow, he just hasn't found the right girl. They look at that and say he's using that as an excuse because he's really gay and can't deal with it. They've got an inner war going on because they're not comfortable with who they are. So those are the 10 emotional needs of women. What I teach men to do is that on a consistent basis, no matter what she says to you, even if it's not technically a test, treat everything as if it's a test. Everything out of her mouth is a test. Once you go through with that mindset,
right,
you're constantly in a mind frame where you're going to address every single emotional need, whether or not it needs to be addressed.
Because I would assume that different women at different stages, at different times, at different places, are going to have different emotional needs that need to be addressed, or one more so than another.
Exactly. For example, let's say she's a woman who's working in a fast food restaurant and she's sweeping the floors. You think she's cute and you want to approach her to get a phone number. You don't know anything about her, but what you do know is that she's at work. So when you approach her, you have to approach her thinking of the emotional needs. Okay, which emotional needs do I know just because of the environment is going to be important to her? Protection of her reputation would probably be an obvious one.
Right.
She's at work. So you might approach her and say, excuse me, miss, can you please tell me where the bathroom is? And you make sure that you speak in a somewhat louder tone. When she says, okay, the bathroom's over there, you say, great, listen, I didn't really come here to ask you about the bathroom. I wanted to approach you, but I didn't want to embarrass you at work. Here's my phone number. Give me a call. I'd really like to meet you and get to know you, okay? And then you actually go to the bathroom. Why do you approach her in that way? Because at her work environment, her reputation needs to be protected.
Right.
And because you've approached that way, she knows, wow, I'm dealing with a guy who knows to protect my reputation. She'll be more likely to give you a call. Part of what I teach men in addressing women's emotional needs to pass their tests is to commit to certain behaviors that, whether it's at the beginning of the relationship or 3 years or 10 years into it, you're still committing those same behaviors. And you haven't done anything which contradicts what it is you want long term. Does that mean you're going to get the girl? No. I don't promise you're going to get every single girl out there. I think that's an impossibility. Will you get the type of girls that you're interested in dating? Overall, yes. Because you're not just doing these behaviors on the spot. You're not thinking, it's not like, golly, what's the next pickup line? Because if I give her the really great pickup line, I'm going to go home with the girl.
Right.
It's about, I'm going to commit these behaviors constantly on an ongoing basis. Women can pick up on that type of authenticity. So you might not even be her type. But if you're committing the behaviors that she'll respond to, she's going to give you a shot. I mean, in my own case, I met my wife on a site called eHarmony. And when she immediately saw a photo of me, because I was, decked out in one of my pimp suits, she immediately said, no way, I don't want to get to know you. And so I contacted her again. I said, come on, give me a chance. You might get to like me. She gave me a chance, and it was through my language and through getting to know her, through a series of emails, that she agreed to meet me. And from the time we met, and 36 hours later, our first date finally ended. And we both knew.
That was it.
That was it. Within 2 weeks, we bought the ring. Now, this is a great love story. It's a wonderful success story. It took me 10 years to get there.
Frank B. Kermit, thanks a lot for being on the show, my man.
It's been great. I look forward to coming back.
Appreciate having you, and thanks for all the information. You guys heard it. This is The Men's Room. We'll see you next time. All right, so let's recap Frank's 10 emotional needs of women. 1, she needs for you to protect her reputation. 2, she needs her emotional range. And 3, she needs for you to cater to that little girl inside of her. 4, she needs you to be a dominant man who leads. 5, she needs you to understand her fear of abandonment. 6, she needs to know that she can trust you. 7, she needs to be physically protected by you and know that she's safe. 8, you need to be able to handle her sexuality. 9, she needs to know that you have quality sperm. And 10, last but not least, said the only way that Frank could, she needs to know that you're not a closet homosexual. Remember, women are constantly testing you. If you become aware of her test, it'll help you cover all 10 of her emotional needs and make sure your woman's satisfied. There's no such thing as failure, there's only opportunities to learn. And in life, class is always in session. I'm Mark Sparks, and we'll see you next time in the men's room.